Episode 62 of the Southern Ontario Dirt Show podcast. It's Jonathon Howe alongside Travis Cunningham for this one. And I, for one, am a little tired, Travis. I'm not going to lie. I'm coming off a bit of an all-nighter situation. We'll get into that. We'll get into where I was last night and the action that I took in. But we should start with number 62. Who do you think of when we go with the number 62 in dirt racing?
First one in my career that I saw was Rick Belante. So before Rick's delivery was on other people's cars, he actually drove himself and picked up a feature win. And it wasn't long after he won that he started becoming like the car owner sponsor kind of guy. So yeah, he's helped so many guys in the pits currently. Cody McPherson and Chad Chevalier. And so he's the first one. And then Erick Rudolph ran a 62 for a year or two with car owner Rob Clark. I don't know why they picked it or anything, but yeah, Rudolph kicked butt around here in a 62 for a couple of years.
So I've got John Babbion as my 62. That's the one that I thought of when I was thinking of the number. And then we also should shout out Statman Fran, who sent us one. And apologies ahead of time if I botched this name here, but Hollywood Holly Washita drove a 62S, I believe, or just a 62 overall. Sorry. So that one's from Fran. Appreciate that. And that's submission. What do you got? We got another one?
Yeah, we almost blew it. Oh my God.
Who you got?
Ron Smoker.
Nice.
That's a big one. And then Todd Burley ran that car too. And then like Ted Kervin was the crew chief on that car before he was crew chief on Pete Bicknell's car.
Nice.
When mainly Ron Smoker. Like Teddy traveled the US with Ron Smoker when they were doing the USAC Midget Tour and stuff. He's got some cool stories from that. So yeah, Ron Smoker. Man, we almost blew that. Like 19-something Merrittville champ. 98? No, that's Alan Johnson. He's in there.
We got to get Teddy on one of these days too. It's like
I asked him. He says he doesn't like that stuff. But yeah, I was like, bummer. Oh, I know, because he's got lots of good stuff.
He's good at what he does. He made us our logo as well. So good crew chief, good designer, good guy all around, Teddy. So
yeah.
Let's get right into it. No racing for me on Saturday night. Merrittville Speedway got rained out, which means we got a little extra focus on Ohsweken from Friday night, where you took the night off because you were working on some engines and getting set up for the rest of the year. So no racing from you, but what did you make of the Cool Kid Core Pack merchandising 360 sprint cars?
Just Ryan Turner stealing Darren Dryden's first career 360 sprint car win away. And yeah, that's the main thing there. I don't remember much else about it. Dryden led, I think, the first 20 laps, which sucks for him because we just changed it to 25 this year, I believe.
Yep.
So, yeah, it would have been last year. That would have been a win. So, and Ryan snookered him on the last lap and then had some spicy comments in Victory Lane saying that they made some comments that the Turner boys are having an off year and he didn't appreciate it or something like that, my mom said. I didn't quite hear it, but yeah.
I mean,
so that was pretty spicy.
So I guess you could maybe say that about Corey, but even still, Corey finished sixth. It's not like Corey's been that far off the pace or anything. Ryan, you can't say that at all. Ryan's been really good. I mean, he won your dad's race. He's the point leader. He's winning races at Ohsweken.
Third win on the year.
Yeah, I'd say Ryan Turner's right where he should be. Your top five in that one. Ryan Turner wins it over Darren Dryden, like you said. Mitch Brown brings it home third. Holly Porter with a solid top five, finishing fourth, and Liam Martin rounds out your top five in fifth position in that one. Over in the Strickland's crate sprints, Brett Strafford picks up yet another W. Winning it over Jesse Costa, Steve Murdoch, John Cadman, and Rob Neely.
John Cadman was the thing in that one. I think he started 26th and finished third.
Really impressive drive from through the field. 22 spots he made up to win the hard charger for that one.
And then our boy Stratford, he wins one, comes on the show, wins another one.
Yeah.
Then he probably win another one and another one and another one.
It was just a matter of time, right? He was like he can't put the cork back in the bottle now that he's figured it out. I think he's going to be rolling pretty good for the rest of the season. So
Mac DeMann wasn't there, so that tightened up the points. We weren't going to mention points, but that tightened up big time in that one because he had like a whole night lead almost, and then now it's tight with all three of them.
Yeah, and if you want to see,
so that one will be fun.
You want to see those points, you can visit the Ohsweken Speedway.ca website. Of course, Ohsweken Speedway and Bicknell Racing Products, proud supporters of the show. We appreciate having them on board, as well as Vansickle Pet Value PV on the lane. Don't forget to go and buy your race tickets for Saturday nights from the best pet store in all the Niagara region. Love those guys. Wanted to say a shout out for the Vansickle Pet Value guys because Alex Riley had himself a pretty quality run in the mini stocks as well, winning it over Ashton Dickey, who's another proud supporter of the show as well. That 1A's got the Southern Ontario Dirt Show logo on it. On the side, a little sticker action. Wade Thorne, Nico Hansen, and Ryan Hiller. But just talk about Alex Riley. Another driver went through the field, 18th to first, and that car's dialed in. That 17's a really good piece of equipment.
Yeah. Yeah, that's more common in the street stocks and mini stocks at Ohsweken because they handicap those divisions. So more like Merrittville does with every class, whereas the crates and 360s are draw every week in redraw format. So yeah, every week you see those guys coming from the back, the fast guys.
Mm-hmm.
And then now they like do the qualifiers instead of 3 heats just to try to speed the show up. Did you notice that
I
at
did,
all?
yeah.
Have you been watching? Yeah, I kind of like it.
Yeah,
It's
seems
good.
to work pretty well for Ohsweken, especially and I always liked qualifying. I mean, again, I came from the NASCAR world where I didn't understand heat racing for a hot minute there, and when I was 10 years old or 12 years old, and I was like, so wait, you guys are racing, but it's not like a real race; it's just a race for a race later on. I don't understand.
Someone should have explained it to you that it's just like a Gatorade Duel, but every night.
Yeah, that's probably the best way to look at it, right?
Yeah,
That's an easy explanation, but uh,
yeah.
12-year-old Jonathon figured it out eventually, so. We got it.
Oh,
We
boy.
figured it out, especially by the time I was announcing. So, one more series to talk about from Ohsweken, and that is the Middleport Mechanical Thunderstocks, where the big dog Ryan Beagle wins another one over Dave Bailey, Ryan Dinning, Trevor DeBoer, and Mark Fawcett. Your top 5 there. Man, Beagle is on an absolute heater at Ohsweken. He has to be the favorite coming up for the big 50 lapper this Friday, right?
Seeing as how he won the other 2 big money street stock races this year, one at Merrittville, one at Ohsweken, I'm going to go with yes. And he drove around Dave Bailey to do it with Stuart Friesen does this a lot where you go in high and then cut her down off 4. Lots of drivers do it as well, but like Stewie does that. Larson does that really well. I just remember Stewie doing it at Ransville. That was his line every Friday. And then drive through the pack from the handicapping and stuff like that. And then, yeah. So he used that line to get around him. And
yeah, it was a good show from the Thunderstocks. And like I say, big night on Friday, a couple of big memorial races. No 360s, though.
3.
But 3 big memorials if you want to run through those for us.
So, yeah, the first one's a Noelle Teal Twin 14s memorial. So, lost her, I think it was in October with that motorcycle accident. That sucks. Big time. We all miss her. It's just, it's not the same with that 14 not over there. Like, she used to park, like, Stars is, like, just across from me. So, the car would always be on the end of the line there. And, yeah. But I think her sister started her first career crate sprint race last Friday. So, that was pretty cool. So, she's going to be able to run in her sister's race. And, yeah, twin 14s. So they're going first and last. So the first one will probably be like a little heavier for them, and the last one will be slow.
Nice. Yeah, I know. 14 laps too, right? Like that's going to be a tricky distance to go. Like you got to get on it right off the hop.
Yeah, the 360s used to do a night twin 15s, so pretty similar to that. But yeah, it's definitely you can't rest in a sprint car at all. But no, you really can't. Even extra. What is it? A heat race plus 6, basically.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, normal heat plus a mini heat.
Yeah, it's gonna be that one's gonna be fun. The 50 lapper in the Thunderstocks. That's probably I think 50 laps at Ohsweken and the Thunderstocks is probably my favorite race of the year. I don't know why I love that race.
Yeah, I agree because it's just a good test of endurance.
It just feels like a great stock car race.
Sometimes the trainees get smoking. Yeah,
like
I've seen Corey Turner, Ryan Turner win that. That's how they started. I've seen so many people win that race. So many different people have won.
Justin Ramsey, the only repeat winner. Have I got that?
I think that happened last year.
I think so.
I was just thinking that. You read my mind. I was just thinking something like that.
I think Beagle's got one. So I think
Bailey doesn't. I think.
Yeah, I don't think something Bailey's won that one.
Kicks me in last year. Yeah, something like that.
So I could
be wrong on the Bailey one, but the other ones.
I would say that Beagle's the favorite handicap in that one, and then we got a big mini stock event as well Friday night from Ohsweken.
Yeah, Art Hill Memorial. He lost his life at Ohsweken, the only fatality ever at Ohsweken, and it was in a mini stock class. And they've pretty sure done it every year. Every year I've been there anyway, and I've been there quite a while now, since 2009. So yeah, it's always just the biggest mini stock race of the year. There's always tons of cars. I remember this is always the one where, like, if some Merrittville guys don't usually come out, they would always come out for this one, try to win the money. It used to be 1,000 to win. Don't know what it
I've
is now.
seen
Probably
more
something
than a
like that.
few Merrittville guys say they're going out to Ohsweken on Friday. So for the mini stocks,
Yeah, everyone comes from the
Yeah.
Art Hill. I'm pretty sure that's his body shop when you pull up on the hill body shop. I could be wrong on that, but I don't know if but like there's a body shop. Pull him up on the left says Hill Auto Body. I don't know if that was like that used to be.
well, let us know.
I did hear that once, but I don't know.
Let us know on social media if you can correct us. Again, at SODS_pod on Instagram, Twitter, and social media, or on Facebook, just at Southern Ontario Dirt Show is where you find us there.
The only thing I was going to mention too about like the Crates Twin 14s is like just how the double feature aspect of it, how you got to be safe in the first one, or at least try to be, because you can't tear stuff up because then you got a full other points race. I don't know. It's probably 2 points races, or maybe an average finish thing, or I'm not sure on that.
Yeah, I can't imagine like.
Yeah, but you can't tear it up in the first race, and then a lot of times there is stuff get tore up in the
I
first
would be
race.
so nervous as a driver having to like run and like go back at it. Like that's a stressful time, I think. But and then you almost feel like I would feel guilty too if I'm not pushing it in the first race, and it's like, oh, I'm just riding. I would feel bad about my run. Like I'm sure there's been nights where you
Honestly,
just run and you're like, I hate that I'm even here.
If you're gonna win a race on twin double feature night, I always say win the second one, because if you win the first one and then don't win the second one, I remember that happened to Chris Steele once. He won the first one of a double feature night at Ohsweken in the 360s, but then had a horrible run in the second one, and like he wasn't even happy.
Do you think we're gonna get a clean sweep of both?
I don't know. McDeman will be back, so that's hard to say.
It's like, who's the candidates? Like I would say Stratford has a good chance.
Before Stratford just swept both, I would have said no way. But
now I think he's got to be one of the ones you got to circle. What about
him or Mac or Jesse?
Jesse could sweep it.
All of them guys could win one each, or could be someone else. Like Murdoch could get his first win.
I wonder if Mike Bowman's going to show up in the crate for that one.
I'm not sure on that one.
If Mike shows up in a crate, I feel like he could do both. But I think they've got a pretty big weekend planned for their racing weekend. So
yeah, focus on 360, Mike. When there's like 10 grand up for if you win both.
Yeah, and speaking of 360s, we should probably dive into some of the racing from the Southern Ontario Sprints on Saturday night. They were at Southern Ontario Motor Speedway, and if I got the results here right, it is Dylan Westbrook with the feature win. Yes, it is.
Yeah. Yep. And then Ryan second, Sean Evans third,
and Liam Martin fourth, Mitch Brown fifth. Which kind of funny that all four of those top four finishers are all making the trip down to Knoxville, right, for the 360s.
Nope, not Mitch Brown though.
Top five. Mitch was fifth. Liam Martin, Sean Evans, Ryan Turner, and Dylan Westbrook all finished 1, 2, 3, 4, and they're all making the trip.
Yep. So Liam's going tonight for sure.
Yeah, it is Liam tonight, and I made a note of this. Where's it is Westbrook tonight as well, and then Friday is going to have Ryan Turner and Sean Evans in it. If you're looking to keep up with that,
yeah. Alex Hill's down there as well. She's been running there weekly. So that's Hill's Racing. The rig's been living down there. Back earlier in the year, when I said something about Daryl's Facebook post, we ended up talking, and like he said their rig can't get back over the board or something about it, like too big or something. I don't know. He said something about their rig is why they can't bring it back over right now, but he says maybe at the end of the year you can see that team back too and run some SOS stuff at the end of the year.
That'd be cool.
And yeah, so she's running tonight as well. D-Dub's got lots of experience there at Knoxville. Got a win there in his career, I believe. Actually, I know that. And then, the rest of them is their first try. So hammer down.
And funny,
because you're wide open at that place even when it's slick, I hear.
Funnily enough,
maybe, like if you're running,
we even have another Canadian representative in Kelly Miller out of Lethbridge. There's going to be the 2 junior ride out there tonight. So making the long haul from Alberta to Knoxville. That's got to be a heck of a drive. I'm not the best with geography.
Can't be any worse than the one from here. No,
I don't know.
Wouldn't that might be a straighter shot?
Yeah, because Knoxville's Iowa, right? So
Yeah.
Iowa's kind of like dead smack in the middle. I think maybe actually Iowa might be close. No, I don't know. I'm not the best with geography. It's corn country. Either way,
Me
it's
neither.
kind of right in the middle of the United States. Like that is middle America, I would say.
That's true. Because yeah, the Indy
Hmm.
cars go there every year, and isn't there stuff something about corn? Their race is always called.
It was for
I
a
think so.
while. Now it's that Hy-Vee, which is like I think a grocery store chain or some.
Oh yeah,
They do
Hy-Vee.
a lot of sponsorship now and put a whole lot of money into that event and made it a pretty good 2-day show, I gotta say. So shout out to Hy-Vee, I guess, for supporting racing. And as far as the sprint cars go, I don't know, man. I like the momentum that Ryan Turner's building. I don't know if, it's a stacked field down there. Like he's got Casey Kane to go up against on Friday night. Like there's a ton of heavy hitters.
Ah,
Like I just was like going through and I was like, Casey Kane's running a 360. Cause like, I'm like, oh, I figured he'd only be focused on 410s.
the only thing Kane's got over him is that he's raced there a
That
bunch before. Whereas Ryan's
right.
going
That's
his
what I'm
first
saying.
time.
There's got to be a ton of guys that have like Rico's there tonight, right? Like there's a lot of guys who have a lot of
Yeah.
experience in this field that these guys are going to have to go up against. I,
This race only pays 5,000 more, I'm pretty sure, than the Canadian Sprint Car Nationals. I think it's only 15 US to win, which this year I think Sprint Car Nationals is
yeah.
10 Canadian, but for quite a few years it was
Well,
American.
and the other thing about that is that just goes to show, like, we've talked. I feel like between our conversation with the True North Racing podcast, which we'll get into and talk about in just a second, um, and even our own talks lately about like what pay structures look like in racing, it's kind of just another notch in the belt for Ohsweken and the Sprint Car Nats, just showing how well that race is funded and how big of a night that is for you guys in 360 racing.
Yeah, that night's a second place finish
Yeah.
if you qualify. And like, uh, yeah, back in the day when the Friday night used to have that shootout and stuff you could get into, like I've made a couple $1,000 easily that weekend when you can do good on the Friday night and the Saturday, and like not even like just finish mid pack and stuff. But like, yeah, there used to be like this cool drag race thing. I forget what it was called. Maybe the Dave McLeod Challenge. Anyway, but it was like just a sprint car one on one thing.
1v1. It's almost like the pole dash challenge that we have for the mods at Merrittville with the Brian Stevens.
Yeah, pretty much. And then yeah, we would do that on Friday for $500. Used to do that. Then like because it would take two from like all the because back when Ohsweken we get all the touring series of 360s that go through. So I would always declare as SOS because it's kind of easier to make the two
Mm-hmm.
things at the nationals that way. So yeah, that was always fun, and I just love that race. It's my favorite race of the year. Can't think of anything, yeah, other
Yeah.
than GC Memorial. The Nationals is right there. Gary loved the Nationals too. I qualified my second shot. He was there.
Yeah.
Yep. I think that was the last time he saw me race.
Nationals
Yeah,
are one
that
of
was a good one.
the Nationals are going to be extra special, I think, this year too, because we've got a proper Nationals. Like, not that last year's weren't, but the fact that we had 3 in 1 year to make up for the pandemic and when Ohsweken was closed, it kind of almost was like, oh, there's a Sprint Car Nats. Oh, there's another Sprint Car Nats. Oh, there's another Sprint. Like, no, this is the
Yeah.
season closer, big one that you want to win. So, and you're going to have bragging rights for a full year if you walk away with a win from that one. So,
Yeah. And the border's more open now, so hopefully we see like 50 cars at least anyway. Even though we used to get like high 60s all the time. They would always say 70, but only think a couple times we actually hit 70. It was
yeah.
always high 60s. And it was always in the 60s. There's so many cars. So many big names have been to that race and not qualified. Like uh, Kramer Williamson was one, and like Kurt Michael, real big guy from like the Central PA area. He didn't make it, or it might have been his brother Sean, was one of them. Yeah, lots of big guys used to come up. Dale Blaney used to come
Nice.
up back in the day. Like Carson Macedo,
I
didn't
think
he
so.
win one?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
he did.
yeah,
Shane Stewart.
I can't wait. I'm already so excited. I'm stoked that we get the Pinty's race in the sprint cars opening being the opening act for the Pinty's cars coming up in like what, less than, I guess, a week and a half, I guess, from now, probably, right? I think is where we're at in the calendar. So,
Yeah. So yeah, like I'm starting. The next race for me is August 11th at Ohsweken. That's the Friday, and then the Monday,
mhm.
Tuesday, 14th, 15th. That's the Pinties, and then the 360s. It's technically SOS
Yeah.
that night, I think, or at least they're giving points out for those as well. It's always double points. Like we'll be getting them for Ohsweken too, and then yeah, and the
Yeah.
Action Sprint Tour.
It's good stuff. It's going to be a good month to be a race fan. This August is quite busy, and it's already been pretty busy. So let's dive into. Actually, before we get to the Super DIRTcar Series, I want to give a quick shout out again to the Jomo Media Gang and Jonathan and Megan for having us on the True North Racing podcast, which I had a chance to catch on my way up to Brockville yesterday, or well, 2 days ago now. But yeah, it was super fun being the guest for once, rather than us having to do the hosting duties. You and I took a turn in the guest spot and basically had like a little roundtable podcast discussion on that show. You can find them, the True North Racing podcast, on wherever you get your podcast. I listen to them on Spotify. That's my go-to, but they're all over the place. And it was a good time being a guest.
I agree. Definitely had fun. Jonathan runs a good show over there. Double Jonathans. You guys were digging that because you guys said you'd never met anybody that spelt it that way. I have met a couple, like my goalie in hockey, Jonathan Timbrinky, was spelled your guys' way.
I think I met one other.
And then there's a couple other in my
one
school.
more other than now Jonathan Morrison. That I think I've met that had the same spelling of my name. So that was unique. And then we're both gear nerds and broadcast techies. So we were geeking out after the show after our interview ended. So we'll probably do some more. We barely even got into like actual racing on track stuff to talk about because there was just so many other topics going around. So I'm sure that will not be our only appearance on the show, and we'll catch up with those guys in the not too distant future. But if you haven't checked it out, go and check it out. We've shared it up on our social media as well for you to see. And yeah, it was a good time being a guest on the show. The folks from Vansickle Pet Valu and PV on the Lane aren't just fans of your favorite four-legged friends, they are race fans too. That's why Jeff and Rhonda Riley, as well as their staff, have teamed up with Merrittville Speedway to make your race day experience more convenient. Race fans can now pick up tickets for race nights while grabbing the highest quality food, treats, toys, and accessories for their pets from the St. Catharines and Niagara Falls locations. Each grandstand ticket will also have a voucher that can be used in-store for a free pet bath at their dog wash stations. Drivers and crew members can also skip the line by purchasing pit passes in-store, giving them more time to get their rides ready for Saturday nights. Check out Vansickle Pet Valu across from Best Buy and Walmart on 4th Avenue in St. Catharines, and PV on the Lane at the corner of Kayla Road and Lundy's Lane, Highway 20. We should probably get into the big... this is the big story of the week for me because I've been following the big blocks. I didn't quite get up all the way to Quebec, but I made sure to get to Brockville yesterday for the Super DIRTcar Series and their Canadian swing 2 nights up in Drummond. And then we had a big race last night from Brockville. Let's start with Monday's race, though. The King of the North Part 1, I guess we're calling it, from Autodrome Drummondville, Quebec. And the winner, Erick Rudolph, in the 3RS slack ride, wins it over David Hebert, Steve Bernier, Matt Williamson, and Jeremy Waugh.
Yep, I was pretty pumped up for that, not going to lie. Francois Bernier almost won it. Like, he, on a restart, drove around Rudolph late on the high side, and he was dancing with that edge. But when you do, you can haul some speed. But he took the 2 to go sign and messed it up off the top of turn number 1 and spun her out. And that gave the lead back to Rudolph, who had led a lot in the middle portions of the race. Where did he start?
Yep, started 6th.
Something. Yeah. But anyway, I love seeing the 3RS pick up the win. And there wasn't that much drama that night, only the spin out. I'm trying to think. There was lots.
Matt Williamson going +18 on the night from starting 22nd.
That's another thing I wanted to talk about.
Series leader Matt Shepard went 25th to 7th for a gain of 18 as well. So the top 2 in their series really showed why they are the top 2, even though they didn't get the best start tonight in qualifying and heats.
Yep. A lot of locals did good in time trials, I noticed, the first night. The track was pretty tricky in time trials. They had a ton of rain. Like, the place was underwater on Monday. Or on Sunday, if anyone saw the pictures online. But, where was I going with that? But then, so Ryan Turner's wife, Jenna, her brother, Chris Raby, had finished second on Monday night, and he ended up being like 4 pounds light at the scales and getting the DQ, so that sucked for him. He was rocking his small block, and it was really coming in late in the race and finished second to the 3RS, and then, got tossed, and I don't think we saw him the next 2 nights, so that sucked because that took a good car out of the field. And that was another one I was pulling for too, not gonna lie. because I was like seeing the small block pull through
Yeah.
those fields.
So like I say, kind of a hometown run, especially through Quebec. I thought both races really played into the hands of the locals. But the second night went to Mike Mahaney, who wins it over David Hebert. Erick Rudolph came home with a third place finish after starting 11th. Steve Bernard was fourth, and Matt Williamson fifth in that one. But I feel like the big story in that one is what happened to Matt Shepard.
Definitely was. So I forget, who was leading early, but Shepard had the lead. David Hebert started 14th, and he was coming on the cushion pretty hard. And there was a restart, and kind of looked like Shepard might have, I don't know, like maybe gave him one of those things where you go like kind of run him up the hill and then take off, and like made the slightest bit of contact maybe on that restart. And it did go through my head like, oh, maybe that wasn't so nice. But then a little bit into that run, didn't like Dirt Vision didn't catch it perfectly, but they went when they did catch it, it came to like Hebert real close to Shepard and then sliding into him, and Shepard spins out. But then I just watched Mandy Pouch's video, and her camera caught it perfectly, and it was Hebert sending a bit of a Hail Mary, and didn't go right, and came right into the door of Shepard and basically spun him out, and no call, like kept the old one up front. So Mr. Shepard wasn't too happy about that. I know that for a fact. We'll talk about his interview from Brockville in a minute, but I know he wasn't happy about that. And then it was halves and halves on the internet. Like initially when I saw it, I didn't think so, but now that I've seen Mandy's video, it's kind of like, oof, maybe,
Yeah.
yeah, because Dirt Vision didn't catch it perfectly, but
Yeah,
Mandy's video
it's
did.
not the best look if you haven't seen Mandy Pouch's view from was Mike Mahaney's car that she had the camera in. So
Yeah, he said he didn't even see it because he was too busy
yeah,
trying to hit the thin cushion because it was a super thin. He was hitting it real nice, and he said he had his full head to the right, staring at the cushion, and he didn't even
mm-hmm.
see those two that were literally right in front of him to the left.
So that wraps up the Quebec swing of things. Now I have to go. I had to go to my notes because I actually kept some detailed notes. I just remembered that I wrote down a whole bunch from my seat in Brockville. So I wanted to go to all three initially, and then I was like, okay, Drummond's a bit far, and like I work a lot this week. It's going to be kind of a weird schedule. I'm like, okay, I'm just going to focus on getting to Brockville. So that was the race that I chose to attend as a media member, and sat up basically right below the cameras at Brockville. First trip to Brockville, by the way. I will say, I kind of enjoyed the place. I'm not gonna lie. I thought the stands were really cool. I like how elevated we were. It seemed I kind of almost wanted to compare it to like a higher banked Humberstone. I don't know if that's fair to say, but that's kind of the vibe I got from it. But these like corners they're so sweeping. It was really fun to watch the big blocks roll around there.
Yeah, it's definitely a super cool layout track. The only thing I would say, like maybe if it was a bit wider off four, but it gets super tight. You got to be on money to be running the high side there. It gets super black though. Sometimes takes rubber hard on tires. That's the only thing you can say about it. But on nights where it like builds a cushion and stuff, I've seen super wicked races there, 2 lines, and I've raced there with a sprint car when I had a cushion, and that was super fun to hit. And I've raced there when it takes rubber too, and it burns your tires off in 8 laps. But that kind of think started to happen last
Mm-hmm.
night at the end of the race for the big blocks. Definitely took rubber
Yeah,
a
you
little bit.
mentioned how narrow it is up out of
That's just
four. Like
if it,
every time I was watching a side by side
yeah.
battle out of four, I'm like, oh, he's gonna run him into the wall. Like he's gonna do a Denny Hamlin and just squeeze him. He's gonna squeeze him, and they always made it through somehow. But I was like, there's another coat of paint.
It's
They'd be
tight.
history. So let's start with my notes from qualifying here. I'm gonna run you through some of the notes that I just jogged down. Peter Britton, great recovery after basically totaling the car the night before.
That's just, yeah. We didn't say that. The Dirt Vision, there was 2 flips. They didn't catch either one of them on
Yeah,
Tuesday night at Drummond because there was only like one cameraman. But Britain's was like, did you see the
yeah.
picture where he was like UFO height in the air, and then he made a funny thing on Facebook today where he was getting
Yeah.
sucked up by a UFO.
But yeah, that was a wild
Yeah.
ride, and came back the next night in the backup car and was pretty fast. Jimmy Phelps went quick time. I thought I talked to Dalton Slack ahead of the race, and he said that, the 3RS, they just haven't really got a handle on Brockville. It's not one of the better tracks for that program. So I was kind of like, okay, I'll see how they do. And you could just see it, like compared to some of the other cars, like I don't know if it was a comfortability thing or what it was, but the 3RS just didn't quite have enough. to kind of be as dominant as they were at Drummondville. Like you could just tell they were just a little off compared to some of the top guys. I would say that Brockville's race favored more of like the Super DIRTcar Series regulars. I don't know if you felt that from watching it on the broadcast, but it seemed like the regulars showed up for the Brockville show.
Yeah, definitely felt that way. Now that you say that, even though Fuller's not a regular this year, but he's
Mm-hmm.
2015 champion and all that. But yeah, definitely you could say that. Uh, Fuller wins in a small block. Right?
Yeah.
Oh, we're not
We got to
that
run
far
through
yet. We're
here. So
only
I
in
was
the
just going to say that's
qualifying.
my note on the 3RS. I said that Williamson looked like he could really attack the track,
Oh,
but I
I said,
think he was almost attacking it too much, and I think that cost him earlier in the night. I mean, like, what do I know? I've never driven a big
well,
block, but it just like from the way that he could like challenge, it just
he
seemed
said
like he
that
just
later.
was like able to really be aggressive, and then the aggression would cost him kind of like maybe not necessarily on corner exit, but like you just could see like it didn't feel like a smooth lap for him, especially early in the night, but the car definitely came to him. So I circled Shepard, McLaughlin, Britton, and Fuller as the ones to watch after qualifying in the heats.
Ooh,
Especially after I think Williamson finished fourth, starts 10th. I was like, okay, that's kind of fine. Phelps looked pretty good in the heat. Pretty much in the early part of the night, if you weren't on the bottom, you weren't going forward, and kind of played into who we saw end up winning. Like pretty much, if you started at the front of your heat, you were gonna win that one at Brockville and on the inside
and on
lane.
the inside lane,
Yeah,
you would win the row. Because like a lot of racing is all about, especially in the heat, like winning
yeah.
your row, getting into turn one, and like in that 8 lap heat, the start means so much. So if you get a bad start in the lane that's not going,
Mm-hmm.
not good.
This is the kind of I don't want to say it's the first time I've got a chance to watch Shepard in person because I'm sure I've watched Matt Shepard somewhere before. I just can't remember specifically when, but man, he like it just was so incredible the way he gets his car to work. And in particular, I remember watching down the back straightaway into 3. His car would just plant so well, and coming out of 2, he would just carry the left front so well. I was like, that car just looks so smooth. It looked like it was on a rail. I was like, that is one of the most impressive things I've ever seen, especially as there's guys, chasing it up the banking. Some guys are getting a little more sideways than others. Some guys are catching and the car's biting, but Shepard just looks so smooth in that opening heat.
Yep, he's the goat for a reason. That's all I got to
Yeah.
say about that.
Mm-hmm. And then I think the tightest of the 3 heats was heat 3, where Peter Britton won it over the 19. And that's where I was kind of like starting to pay attention to Fuller. And I think at that point I may have even texted you and you were like, oh, if you can grab Tim Fuller, that'd be kind of cool, right? For like an interview. Cause I talked to him. I
He's the
met him for
man.
the first time in Slack's trailer while I was catching up with Dalton and Bob and everybody on the 3RS team. And he was there hanging out for a second. So I got a chance to chat with him and I was like, okay, that's cool. Chris Highlands up drawing the pole. Max McLaughlin, I thought McLaughlin was going to be not a little better in the heat or in the feature. I thought his car kind of faded on him compared to where he was in the early part of the night, but he was definitely one that I wanted to have an eye on because of his upcoming NASCAR start too. So, which is still weird that he's going to start a road course. You wouldn't think like a dirt guy would make his first start on a road course, but whatever
His
works.
dad has a Busch Series win at Watkins Glen,
Well, that I guess that there's like the family tie to it, but I still don't think of him.
and like he lived right there. I'm sure you know. Is that Watkins
Yeah,
Glen, right?
yeah, it
Probably,
is.
gotta be. Yeah, he knows his way around there. That's
Yeah.
why.
So,
I think he's won a race there in K&N.
oh yeah.
Pretty
Okay,
sure.
so that probably makes more sense then. But I still just think of him. I'm like, oh, you're a dirt guy. Like you should be on like an oval with like where you can really get the thing wound up or something like that. But once the race got going, I'm not going to take you right through the cautions and stuff, but um, the thing that I watched most was Tim Fuller's line. So, and I found it after the fact when I talked to him, he had a small block in. But did you notice the way he would kind of enter really low on the corners and almost drive up the banking and then make the turn around the outside? I thought that was so
Mm,
different. I can't think of watching too many drivers do that where it almost like was like an inside outside just outside line rather than coming back to the inside, right? Like some people dime in the corner, right? But um, it was a really unique line, but it ended up being really fast.
yeah, that's because the corners there are super like they don't look that banked on TV, but they're pretty banked in real life when you're out there. And that entry into turn one is pretty abrupt. So going back to the new coil setup and left side panhard bar, if you hit that uh, transition wrong, it can probably upset the car a little bit. So Fuller was just trying to make it the straightest, smoothest line
Mm-hmm.
possible. And Alan Johnson used to do that in turn 1 and 2 at Merrittville and win like 1,100,000 lappers back in the early 2000s, doing that in turn 1 and 2. But then in 3 and 4, he would do the opposite. Like he would go down the front straightaway, like basically on the go kart track, super low, and go in low. And then once he hits the metal, sweep it out, and then cut 3 and 4. But yeah, Fuller was doing that at both ends. And that's basically how you have to drive these cars these days. A bunch of people have said it on the show. Just you got to keep it on the gas and smooth as possible. And Fuller's raced there a ton.
Yeah, he's got a lot of experience there, and I believe he won the
small block was
won the
helping
first Super
as well.
DIRTcar Series event there.
Yeah, they said something about that.
I think it was the first one.
Yeah, it was a non-points race or something.
Yeah, or maybe the first
first
big block race back in, I think, like 96, I think it was, if I'm remembering correctly. So he's a guy who's got a ton of experience. Matt Shepard ends up coming home second. Once he got up to second, I was like, oh, it's going to be a matter of time before Matt gets up there. But he just couldn't quite close the gap. Like he never got close enough to really take a swipe at him even. And same for Matt Williamson. I like Matt was fast. He got up from his 10th place starting spot and he picked up basically, I would say he picked up a car every single restart because there were a fairly good amount of cautions, I thought, all things considered, for a 75 lap event. But it was kind of nice. It broke up the race really well. And 75 laps there, I'm like, obviously I was dialed in with notes and I'm focusing on stories and stuff like that. But by the time I looked up and I was like, oh, it's lap 63 of 75. I'm like, what? Where did this race go? It was crazy.
Yeah, I thought that when I was watching on Dirt Vision as well. And yeah, the mats were just at a little bit of a disadvantage because they had to run a big block. The Super DIRTcar Series, if you run a big block and you're a platinum driver, I'm pretty sure there's a point deduction. So like they have to run a big block if they're going for the series title. So a guy like Fuller, who's not going for points, just going for the money, can, like, they even, like, small blocks usually weigh 2,400 or 2,350, something like that. I think it's 2,350 with the W16 and 2,400 with a spec. But yeah, so they are normally way lighter than the big blocks at 2,500, but they make them weigh the exact same as the big blocks, so it's already putting more weight on them. But I could almost just help them stick even harder. Because the only difference is, like, Fuller could use all of his 600 horsepower for the most part, whereas Matt had to feather the big block and probably couldn't keep it hooked up as well. Actually, I know they couldn't. That's why Matt Shepard in Victory Lane says every time he goes there, he ends up getting beat by a small block. And then, yeah, he expressed displeasure about the call the night before. He clearly thinks that Hebert should have been put tail, as he called the tower 3 blind mice. I'm not going to lie. I had a bit of a chuckle.
That was a pretty entertaining comment. I'm not going to lie.
Spicy
so Tim
interview
Fuller's
from Shepard.
Yeah, Tim Fuller is your winner. Matt Shepard brings it home second. Matt Williamson third. Peter Britton fourth. And Jimmy Phelps ends up in fifth position. That's your top five. Before we get into some of the interviews and the sound I was able to grab from that night, let's just talk about the points situation, as the Super DIRTcar Series has now a week off before another triple header run of races coming up in a couple weeks. Summerfest. Matt Shepard is your leader right now, 59 points over Matt Williamson. Peter Britton sits third in points, Chris Heil fourth, and Mike Mahaney is fifth. But really the battle is between the Matt and Matts. Matt Williamson has more wins on the year, but Shepard has more top tens. That seems to be the main
Has not
difference.
Finished outside the top 10.
Exactly. So even when he struggles, even when he's off, which is something we talked about with Matt Williamson earlier in the year, is that that was how he was going to need to win the championship. His bad nights need to be 8th and 9th place finishes, not 15th and 12th or whatever else.
Is Lebanon Valley the last 2 years. I think those are two of his worst ones.
Yeah,
it was this year. That's his one killing him right now. It's his only non-top 10 for Matt. Our Matt.
Yeah, but he did make up a couple of points, I would say, at least, with his strong run. Shepard obviously out-qualified him, and so I think he got some bonus points for that, if I remember how the series works correctly.
Quick time gets 5 overall.
Yeah, and I think do you get points for your heat win?
Maybe.
Bonus win? I thought I caught on the broadcast they said you get something like that, but I can't remember 100% right off the top of my head right now. But either way, he would have been down points to Matt Shepard, who brought home one position better last night, but did make up some ground in the 2 races in Quebec. So that was good for that battle, and hopefully it gets even a little bit tighter, because it's always fun when you have a good points battle coming down the stretch.
Super Dirt Week's double points, so that one's huge.
Exactly. Let's go into, so I was able to catch up with 4 some people that we've had on the show in the past, 2 guys that we've never had on the show, just quickly after the race. So we're going to hear from Erick Rudolph, Tim Fuller, Matt Williamson, and Dean Reynolds talking about the triple header swing and last night's event at Brockville. And that'll wrap up the Southern Ontario Dirt Show podcast for this week. Make sure you're following along on social media. I've got some posts that I'm going to put, or some photos that I'm going to post up from Brockville, and go through some audio and some video and post some more stuff as well from that. And yeah, thanks as always for the support. And we'll leave you with a couple interviews. The Southern Ontario Dirt Show is brought to you by Ohsweken Speedway, Southern Ontario's home for Friday night excitement. For over 25 years, Ohsweken Speedway has promoted and played host to sprint car racing, with a new season of family-friendly events on the horizon and set to begin May 19th. Catch our own Travis Cunningham as he races weekly in the 360 division each Friday night in pursuit of a season-long championship. The Friday night lineups are rounded out by crate sprints, thunderstocks, and mini-stock divisions as well. In addition to weekly racing, Ohsweken Speedway will also hold several marquee events for the Southern Ontario Sprints, the Action Sprint Tour in their West Series and National Series, as well as a visit from Canada's premier stock car series, the NASCAR Pinty Series, on August 14th and 15th for their only stop on dirt. Mark your calendars, as the 3/8 mile dirt track located in Ohsweken, Ontario welcomes drivers from across the country and beyond for the 19th running of the Canadian Sprint Car Nationals, which is scheduled for September 16th. To keep up to date with the latest news from the track, be sure to find them on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. For track information on policies, admissions, directions, and more, be sure to visit ohswekenspeedway.ca. That's OHSWEKEN Speedway.ca. Ohsweken Speedway, your home for Friday night excitement. The Southern Ontario Dirt Show is brought to you by Bicknell Racing Products. The last 40 years plus have seen Bicknell Racing Products grow to be an industry leader for racers and enthusiasts alike. Their St. Catharines location is home to 20,000 square feet of manufacturing and retail space, with a second store in Niagara Falls, New York, and a dealer network that continues to grow day by day to serve Southern Ontario, Western New York, and beyond. Bicknell Racing Products distributes Hoosier tires for much of Eastern Canada, New York, and even parts of Pennsylvania. BRP has everything you could need to keep your car performing at its peak, with genuine parts from the manufacturer. They even have a technical support line committed to helping you with the most up-to-date information and feedback from racers and crew chiefs. Have you ever thought about a career in the automotive or racing industry? Now is your chance to take the leap with Bicknell Racing Products. They are looking for CNC machine operators, welders, and more to join their team this season. Please send all resumes to Dana Curving at BicknellRacingProducts.com. That's DANACURVIN at BicknellRacingProducts.com. For further information on Bicknell Racing Products and to find a dealer near you, visit BRP online at www.BicknellRacingProducts.com, or on Facebook, or at twitter.com/BicknellRacing. All right, standing by with Erick Rudolph, and coming off a little bit of a disappointing night here at Brockville, but overall a good trip north of the border, driving the 3RS. Erick, just talk to us about this little 3-race run you've been on with the 3RS.
First night went as well as it could have went. Last night went really well. Got a top 3, and then tonight we were doing okay. In the heat race, we thought we still had some work to do. In the feature, we really weren't that good. Maybe a 10th place car at best. And then late in the going, I don't know. They'll have to investigate what actually happened there. Might have jumped out of gear. I don't know. It wasn't the engine or anything like that. To me, it seemed like it jumped out of gear, so I just pulled it in.
Yeah, for sure. Very understandable, but overall a successful trip. Talk to us about 2023 overall and where you've been running and how things have been going this year.
I'm really happy with how things have been going. I had a bunch of good runs. our bad runs are far and few between, which is okay. We got our fair share of wins. There's probably, we're about halfway through the season, so things are starting to come to a close here, and we've not tonight, but the first 2 nights of our trip we had good runs, so got some momentum.
And so my buddy Travis Cunningham, who we co-host the Southern Ontario Dirt Show together, he had a couple questions for you. He wanted to know, you started out TQ midgets, you started out on pavement, so what brought you over to the dirt and dirt modified racing?
There's more opportunities, I think. The asphalt game was taking me whole weekends at a time to race one time, and just wasn't interested in doing it anymore.
Travis also wanted to talk to you a little bit about your dad and your dad's racing legacy, and if you have any specific memories of some that jump out to you about Charlie Rudolph.
He was before my time, so I don't really remember much. The one guy he was crew chiefing for got suspended, so he came back out of retirement and won his first race back out. That's the only memory I really have of him.
Totally fair, appreciate it. And just what's left on the racing calendar? Do you plan on getting back in the 3RS, going big block racing? Where's the season going to take you from here on out?
I'm not sure. I don't think we have any more races planned with these guys, but you never know what'll happen. Time always tells. But we got a full schedule here. We'll be racing till Charlotte. I don't know how many races exactly we got planned, but we'll be busy.
Awesome. If our race fans on the north of the border want to keep up with you in your career, what's the best place to follow you at?
Probably the Erick Rudolph Facebook page or the website is your best bet. We're really good about, trying to keep everybody in the loop and the latest Erick Rudolph happenings and races and such.
Appreciate it. Thanks for taking the time.
Thank you very much.
Standing by with tonight's winner, Tim Fuller. Talk to us about a pretty successful trip back to Brockville, a place that you've had some success in the past.
Yeah, it was, and I've run here a lot throughout the years. I think I ran half, 3/4 of a season here one year, but other than that, I just come up here for all the specials. But it's, I've probably been here more than anybody else.
That experience plays a factor tonight. I wanted to ask you about the line you were running, especially through 1 and 2. You kind of dove in on the low side, and then you kind of just drive straight up the racetrack into corner 2 right at the apex there. Talk to us about what that feels like in the car to almost climb the hill rather than trying to run down the hill.
Well, I was trying to take the shortest way around. I mean, other guys were running way up on top. I got a 358, and I was trying to take the shortest way around, and I think my car, because it was a 358, handles a little bit better because of lighter weight and less power. So I was just trying to shave off some corners, shave off some mileage there. So it worked out really well, and I run that track, like I run this track in Cornwall basically the same, so I'll do the same thing there.
Nice. Lots of practice running that line. Talk to us about, you go in the Hall of Fame this year. It's been a long career, and you're still out there. Now this is your second win of the year on the Big Block Tour. Just how great does it feel to be out here, being in a Hall of Famer and still kicking butt?
It does feel good. It's what keeps you going. It's what gets you up. I don't have any crew. I do it all on my own until I get to the track. I'll usually have a straggler hanging around, 1 or 2, but it's gratifying. I mean, to be able to still do this at my age and be competitive with the kids, I think it's great. And I'm just going to try and keep it going for as long as possible.
And I'm sure over your Hall of Fame career, you've got maybe a couple races, couple trips that stick out to you. Is there a favorite when you've had to do some reflecting, being a Hall of Famer this year, that stuck out to you?
As far as ones I'd like to win, or is that what you're talking about?
Like ones that you have won, a race, maybe even a race that you didn't win where you had a great finish, or maybe just a memorable run.
I mean, in the modifieds, anytime, like, Syracuse is irreplaceable. I won a couple of times at Eldora. The marquee events, Charlotte and stuff. And, don't get me wrong, any Super Dirt Series event is a marquee event anymore. So just be able to come in here the way I am and be fortunate enough to win. Those are the events that I look forward to now. I didn't go to Drummond, so I could be prepared for here.
That meant that much to you. It's great to see you out here. Congratulations on a great night. Where can race fans keep up with you, and where can we expect to see you next?
my next trip I'm going to Mohawk tomorrow, Can-Am Friday, and I think Cornwall on Sunday, and then probably the next Super Dirt Series event, which is Brewerton, Fulton, and Canandaigua.
Awesome. Thanks so much for the time, Tim.
All right, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, standing by with Matt Williamson on the Southern Ontario Dirt Show podcast, coming off 3 pretty solid nights overall for the Buzz 288 group.
Yeah, pretty excited. 3rd, 4th, and 5th. I think, anyways, 3rd, 4th, and 5th. But yeah, it was pretty cool. Cool to be back in Canada for the Super Dirt Series. Means a lot to race in front of the Canadian fans. And up in Quebec, some of the best fans are up in Quebec. So cool to be back. Happy we could get some good results. Felt like we had a good car tonight. The driver just needs to get his head out of his ass when it comes to qualifying.
Fair enough, fair enough. I wanted to ask you about these triple headers with the Super DIRTcar Series. You're one of the few guys, running all the scheduled dates, going for the championship. How much work goes into these triple headers? Another one coming up on the calendar later this month.
A lot. I mean, in a couple weeks we're going to go to Brockville back here on a Saturday night and Cornwall on a Sunday. And it's a lot of preparation when you don't go home in between. So we're fortunate we got a pretty good team that prepares very well for this. It showed last week with the Barron's car getting wrecked one night and winning the next night. So it takes a lot of good guys. We got a lot of good guys behind us, and pretty happy I get to drive the car.
Definitely. Some home cooking last week as well in the Short Track Super Series. Just talk to us about how it felt being back up for that swing as well.
It was awesome. Granby's one of my favorite Quebec tracks. That was the place I thought I'd get the win at. I didn't think I'd be good at RPM, but fortunately we pulled it out there and got a win for Jeff Barron. He needed that. We win a lot with the 88 and then CW6, and just nice to get a win for him.
Absolutely. Last one before we get out of here. Just want to ask about a little bit of an interesting time at home for you, but on the road you've had a lot of success this year. What's made the difference in 2023 for Matt Williamson on the road?
We've had a good car this year. We spent a lot of time working in the wintertime on shocks and springs, and that's what it takes to win races. I mean, there's no magic. All the people that think I was softening tires at Merrittville can kiss my ass. The guys that are softening tires, really, they're the ones that are 18th, 19th, 20th. There's no magic in this deal. It's a lot of work. We race 100 times a year. We're racing Saturday nights. We used to race Saturday nights against guys that would race a dozen times a year. So we should go there and win races, and we put a lot of work into this. Fortunately, it pays off. Unfortunately, racing's a sport where you get punished when you start winning. They ran us away from home, and we're enjoying our time this summer. I mean, I'm going to take this weekend off, go fishing with my family, and next weekend we're going to go on the road to Brockville and Cornwall. So stuff I was never able to do before, and pretty happy to get to do it now.
Congratulations. Enjoy the rest of the summer. Matt Williamson on the Southern Ontario Dirt Show.
Thanks for having me on, guys.
Catching up with Dirt Car Dean Reynolds. Back at it, north of the border for the Super DIRTcar Series. Talk to us about 3 pretty successful nights for the series and some 3 awesome races.
It was so good to get back into Canada with the doubleheader in Quebec and then here at Brockville. And I'd tell you, all 3 crowds were amazing, and the atmosphere and even the competitors that get to run with the Super DIRTcar Series again. We're happy to be back in Canada, and it went even better than we thought.
Definitely a great 3 nights. So far, have you circled the wagons on any other tracks that you might be thinking north of the border for 2024? And can we expect to see Brockville and Drummond back on the track, back on the schedule next year?
Oh, yeah, we have already been talking with Drummond and Brockville, and there's other tracks in Canada, but you always want to analyze the schedule, see how it goes. We'll talk to the competitors, starting next week and stuff to see what they think, and, do they want to come back across the border again? We purposely set this up to get the 3 races in, one crossing the border, because you just don't know how the border is going to be after COVID. But, it seemed like it's been very smooth. I didn't have a team tell me they had any issues. And, but if they do all the documents right and everything else, everything should go well. So I think we can do some more.
Triple header north of the border, another triple header coming up on the schedule for the Super DIRTcar Series. From a series standpoint, talk to us about the amount of work that you guys have to put in to pull off a triple header show.
Well, we like to do triple headers a couple times a year because the competitors like to get, back-to-back-to-back races, but where there's not a lot of travel. Drummondville's a little bit up there, but still, for a lot of teams, you come to Brockville's on their way home, so that works out good. But we got Summerfest coming up in 2 weeks. We give them a week off next week because coming off 3 and then going back to 3, we want to give them a week off. But that Summerfest, we tried that last year, and it was very successful, even though with the 1 rain out. We still had 2 good shows at the 3. With Burton, Fulton, and Canandaigua all within an hour of each other. We had a lot of cars and fans and stuff, and hopefully have a good weather this time.
And next time we'll probably be seeing each other is at Ransomville. Talk to us about that date and looking forward to getting back to the Big R.
Well, that's going to be a great show because the Summer Nationals, long history, bringing the Super DIRTcar Series there, and then with the Mike Mineski Memorial now, that Sportsman Series race is actually part of the championship trail. So if anyone that wants to go for the DIRTcar Sportsman Championship's got to be at Ransomville. And that's going to be a great 1-2 show.
Congrats on all the success north of the border. Thanks for coming back up here with the series, and take care.
Thanks, man. And hopefully next time I talk to you is Victory Lane and the BRP Tour.
There we go.
Cheers, buddy. Appreciate it. Thank you.
And the checkered is out on another episode of the Southern Ontario Dirt Show presented by Ohsweken Speedway and Bicknell Racing Products. Like what you hear, rate, review, and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Connect with us on Facebook at Southern Ontario Dirt Show, or find us on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at SODS_pod. Have a question for the show? Email us, southernontariodirtshow@gmail.com. Thanks for supporting local racing in Southern Ontario, and we'll see you at the track.